Howdy again, it's Mr. Pete, your YouTube shop teacher. I'm in my basement workshop today, and this is part 3 of a 3-part series on grinding lathe centers. Now the first 2 videos dealt with sharpening or grinding 60-degree dead centers. Number 1 was on the South Bend lathe, and then I used the Atlas lathe. Well, today I'm back with the Atlas lathe. I'm doing something a little different. In fact, I've never done it myself. But I am going to grind a live ball bearing center, so let's get started. You are watching tips number 560. Go back and watch the other 2 if you have missed them. In the last 2 videos, these are dead centers that I ground. And this is really a very similar procedure, but these live centers, ball bearing centers, are made just a little bit differently. Some of them can be disassembled and the grinding would be done that way. And in a recent video, Randy Richard ground a ball bearing center, but he took it apart, as did Don Bailey. But check their videos out, they're quite good. This, I suppose, is an imported one that I'm going to grind. It's not in real bad shape, but I want to dress it up. Generally, these aren't going to be in too bad a shape because they are spinning, and unless you hit them with a tool or something and damage them, probably maybe never do need to be ground. But you can take these apart, or some of them, but you'd have to press them apart and deal with it that way. I'm going to grind it while it's assembled. Now notice that some of these, now I'm going to hang on to this number 2, the entire bearing and point spin. Also true with this Enco. Some are made in another way, for instance this one, and you can see that this does not spin, only the point. So I'm not sure how we would go about doing that one. Years ago, some Encos that I had used replaceable points, and at the time I bought the centers, I bought extra points, and I never did use them, but I sometimes use them for other purposes, and they're still in perfect shape. But these were made by Enco, or whoever their supplier was. I greatly favor these spring-loaded live centers, with this one made by Concentric, and they're very expensive. This is a number 3. Does not need grinding, but I'm not sure how you would go about it because, again, this is spring-loaded and I don't know how these come apart, and I don't intend to try. I suppose one of these centers could be held in a chuck, but probably not a 3-jaw. It certainly wouldn't be Concentric, so you'd have to use a 4-jaw, but I really don't know how well that would work. That is not the way I'm going to do it. That is just a possibility. And that would work because this point does not revolve within the bearing. I intend to hold it right in the lathe spindle, and of course I'll have to use a sleeve like that, and it'll go in that manner. But of course this is going to spin, so I will have to use a dog to keep it from revolving. Now the dogs that I have are just going to be way too bulky or big. So I made a temporary dog out of aluminum. Now fortunately I had a piece of aluminum stock with a large hole in it. How fortuitous was that? And it'll mount like that. The hole was the right size with the set screw right here to keep it from spinning, and I made a tail for the dog out of threaded rod. And this will fit right into the dog plate. This is the Do More grinder that I will be using with the 3-inch wheel. I had to make myself a T-nut, so I went with the round method, and that's held in with Loctite. And this is just a piece of all thread with a couple washers on it that go right through this hole. Note that this grinder has an inline switch and is spring-loaded as far as the belt tension is concerned. And again, I can achieve the height to center by loosening this bolt and raise or lower the grinder on this shaft. To verify the accuracy of what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a readout here. This is before I have ground it, and I have the last word indicator on, and you can see that it is 2 thousandths TIR right now. Let me zoom in. Again, this is before grinding. And here it is taking a reading off of the bearing part rather than the point. And that is within 1,000th, a little less than 1,000th. So there's more run out on the tip than there is on the bearing. Now I'm out in the garage at the 12-inch Atlas Craftsman lathe, and I'm going to mount the grinder. I like that new nut that I made. Went right in and snug it down. Tighten it with the wrench. You know, I like a Mac wrench, don't you? And next I can adjust the height of the grinder shaft and get it exactly on center, comparing here to the lathe center. You can see how this can be moved up and down. And when I get it in position, I'll tighten it. And you know, I like the Williams wrench, super wrench, don't you? I know much of this is a repeat. Now I want to square up the wheel. So again, I'm going to put the thread protector onto the spindle, but the purpose here is that so I can square up the wheel with that. So let me put that on. Like that, just hand tighten. This is my way of doing it. There are probably a lot of other ways. And then again, I will tighten the bolt. And now the compound swung to 30 degrees and tightened. The diamond dresser is mounted and in place, the vacuum right underneath, the lathe bed draped, and I am ready to dress the wheel. And now I will mount the center. I put just a little bit of Sharpie marker on the tip so I could see what was coming off. Be sure and clean everything real well. And the tail of the dog goes into the slot on the dog plate. All right, everything's in position. I will lock the carriage, and remember, the spindle will run in reverse. The vacuum was right under the grinding wheel, hopefully in the right position. All right, let's take this center down the basement and check it for accuracy with the dial indicator. A bit sharp, if not lethal. Well, this is pretty much the exact same setup I had 1 hour ago using the Noga holder and the last word indicator, and I'm right on 60 degrees, checking it with the Fowler fishtail. Looking at this now, I'm within 1.5 thousandths. So I would say this was successful. I would have liked it to be exactly on 0, but that's about what it was before. Well, that concludes this series of 3 videos on grinding lathe centers. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment if you have a suggestion or a better way of doing this. This is tubalcain saying so long for now.